Hey there, Fit Family. I am Dr. Jillian Teta. I am the author of Natural Solutions for Digestive Health, the creator of Fix Your Digestion, and a member of Team Metabolic Effect. And that is what we're going to chat about today. So last year at the Metabolic Effect Summit, at the end of the summit, Keone, Jade, and myself sat around and we had like a roundtable discussion where pretty much anybody could ask us whatever questions we wanted. We just sat there for an hour or more answering all these different health-related questions, and it was pretty awesome. So then we get home, and Lincoln sends us another huge list of more questions. And so what I want to do today is I'm going to actually answer a couple of the questions. I thought it would be fun to do a whole set of videos of just a few minutes where I'm going over all of the questions that you guys had for me. And I'm not sure how many people from the summit from last year are actually watching this, but I just thought it would be kind of fun, and the information will be interesting and hopefully beneficial for you. So I'm going to do that today at least, and then if you guys hate it, you can tell me and let me know that you don't like it, and we'll switch gears. So the one question that I wanted to answer today was that, well, and also because I have a list of questions like this big now, so we gotta get to it, and then hopefully you guys will join us in May to meet face-to-face and answer even more questions and learn even more amazing things about health and fitness. So here we go. The question I want to answer for you guys today is there's a question about fermented foods and probiotics and kind of like what to look for, how much you should do, why they're important, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about that. First of all, the reason why it's important, I want to do a little bit of backtrack, a little bit of history, is these foods, fermented foods, and probiotics, which are a supplemental form of beneficial bacteria, the reason why we're even discussing these things is that these guys are very important for the health of your microbiome. And your microbiome is an enormous colony of beneficial and healthy bacteria. It resides in your large intestine. It weighs about 4 to 5 pounds. There are between 1 trillion and 100 trillion bacterial cells that comprise this, and they represent thousands of different types of sort of strains of bacteria that represent literally millions of species. So we are talking about a huge, enormous, diverse, sort of like ecological landscape that happens to reside in your gut, and it means that you are at least as bacterial as you are human, because we only have 1 trillion human cells. Only. Right? So this is pretty interesting to learn that we are at least as bacterial as we are human, and it's fascinating to me at least to learn all of the different things our microbiomes do for us. So not only are they key in digestion, whether it is helping us break down our food, helping us to humanize certain nutrients that come from plants, helping us manufacture certain vitamins and minerals, helping keep us regular. They also do many other things for us in the body, including helping support our immunological health. They're in great discussions all the time with our immune system. Folks that have good flora get fewer infections, have fewer environmental allergies, have fewer asthma attacks and asthmatic disease. They have fewer autoimmune conditions, right? Anything related to the immune system, your microbiome is right there. The microbiome also is enormously important for the creation, recycling, breakdown, and detoxification of hormones, right? Especially estrogen, progesterone, thyroid hormone. Also, your microbiome, in addition to having immunological function and hormonal function, also helps with your central nervous system and the nervous system that lives in your gut, your enteric nervous system, or your second brain. Not only are they doing all these other things, they also have impact and influence on our blood pressure, our blood lipids, right, like cholesterol levels, even our state of mind and our waistlines. So these guys are often understated. A lot of folks think that they're gross because it's bacteria, but this is the reality of the situation. We are colonized by a complete ecosystem of bacteria that is at least equal to our own human cells. So here's the thing. You want your microbiome to have good, strong counts of good, healthy numbers and strains. You want to have a very diverse microbiome. Microbiomes that are more diverse can do more things for you and can also repel more bad guys, pathogenic infections, environmental toxicants, metabolic byproducts that might be harmful or toxic. They're a way better buffering system if there are different types of strains. So like in any ecological system or any social system, diversity is the key against ruin. So we can use fermented foods and probiotics to help spruce up, make more robust, diversify, and also support our microbiomes. So let's talk about fermented foods first, because here's the thing, not everybody has to take a probiotic. I do recommend folks that have digestive distress or that are taking antibiotics or have completed an antibiotic treatment or take many antibiotics all the time, that they take a probiotic, but not every single person has to take a probiotic. I'm going to tell you what to look out for anyway, of course, but let's talk about fermented foods first. So fermented foods, some examples of these are things like apple cider vinegar, kombucha, which is fermented tea, water kefir, dairy kefir, yogurt, and those two are totally acceptable if you can tolerate dairy products. And then we also have things like kimchi and sauerkraut and real pickles, like the Bubby's brand pickles that are made not with vinegar but with like microorganisms. And then you've got things like beer and wine. Now, I'm not going to go and say beer and wine is great for your gut. That's a whole other discussion. But all of these foods contain microorganisms that can be beneficial for you. What these do, what these good guys do, is they help support and diversify your native flora that is already there. I tend to recommend that pretty much everybody have at least 3 servings of fermented foods per week. A serving is not very much. If we're talking about something like, say, sauerkraut, you really only need like a couple tablespoons, just several bites. This also will help settle your stomach, help with digestion by stimulating your enzymatic output, and then also, of course, help with regularity, in addition to providing the beneficial microorganisms and all of the other micronutrition that's present in the sauerkraut. So you want to aim for at least 3 servings a week on something like, let's use the example of kombucha or kefir or water kefir. If you go online and look, like, you're going to get a wide variety of recommended dosages. For something like kombucha, kefir, water kefir that are liquid, I usually have folks start with about 4 to 6 ounces. If this is tolerated well and you enjoy it, you can go up to 8, 10, 12 ounces a day if you'd like. You certainly, at least here in the US, you'll see people walking the streets drinking large 16-ounce bottles of kombucha. Something like kombucha is also very easily made at home, ditto with sauerkraut. So these are recipes that are very, very, very easily Googled. I make my own kombucha here at home. I've been doing it for years. It's the most delicious kombucha. It's economical, and it's kind of fun. So if you have kids or, I don't know, you're kind of earthy crunchy like me and you like doing those types of things, like making your own kombucha, I would definitely recommend you give it a whirl. It is far, far, far less intimidating than it appears. So let's talk about probiotics. Probiotics are a little bit different than fermented foods in the sense that they're not a food item like, yogurt is. They are the supplemental form of beneficial bacteria. And what you want to think about with probiotics is that they don't always stick around and colonize the gut. They are more like messengers or diplomats or wise sages or guides. I like to think about them as kind of like Gandalf. So they're not necessarily sticking around forever, but they're offering really good counsel, and they are making the entire operation better and stronger. So think about these probiotics moving through your digestive tract, very much like Gandalf moving through the Shire and moving through, Middle Earth, sort of chatting with everybody, making sure everything is going well, offering help and suggestions where needed. This is essentially what probiotics do for you. In cases of injury or chronic antibiotic use, they can help build up the numbers of good guys, but I want you to think mostly of them as coaches and messengers and like little Gandalf. So what do we look for in a good probiotic product? Couple things. First thing is with probiotics, I like to look for a product that is just probiotics. It's not probiotics and enzymes, it's not probiotics and greens, it's not probiotics and a multivitamin, it's not probiotics and a protein powder and a multivitamin greens all mixed in one. You really want to just get probiotics. These can be in capsules or powder. It doesn't necessarily have to be refrigerated. For most folks, especially if you're sensitive to something, it would be better if you got probiotics that were dairy-free and soy-free, because those little compounds can be distress-inducing, let's just say that. So if someone's real sensitive and they're having a lot of gut problems, getting a probiotic that's grown in a dairy or soy medium might not help very much. So you want to get one that is hypoallergenic. That's the first thing. Well, that's actually the second thing. So just probiotics, hypoallergenic. Next piece is you want to look for a probiotic that kind of mimics our normal, natural human gut flora. Two very dominant bacterial strains in our human gut flora are called Lactobacillus and Bifidobacter, those two. So when you're looking at your labels, you want to find a probiotic that is rich in those two strains. And you'll notice that there's lots of different types, like you'll see Bifidobacter infantis, Bifidobacter longum, like all those types of guys, and that's great. You want that. You want all of those strains. So, just probiotics, hypoallergenic, lots of Lactobacillus and Bifidobacter, and I'm firmly in the camp where I like a probiotic to have at least 20 billion with a B, CFU. That's colony-forming units. So a colony-forming unit is kind of like a unit of measure. So it's kind of like a dose. So I tend to use higher dose probiotics. I think they work better. Now some folks are sensitive and they need to start out slower and lower, and that's totally fine. But you want to look for something that has at least 20 billion. I have some of my folks up to 100 billion, but that's not always necessary for everybody. But those are the main things, guys. So you want a probiotic that is just a probiotic, that's not grown in dairy, that's not grown in soy, that doesn't have tons of like other ingredients in it. You want to look for one that has a lot of lactobacillus and a lot of bifidobacter. You want to look for one that has at least 20 billion CFUs, and then you want to take it. All right, so that's all of the tips and tricks that I have for you today. So fermented foods are great. You can start with just a couple tablespoons of something like sauerkraut or kimchi, something that's solid, or 4 to 6 ounces of a liquid fermented food or fermented beverage. And then with your probiotics, I've given you the outline of what to look for. So that is your sort of send-off for helping your microbiome be the best that it can be. And I'll chat with you guys next time, and I certainly hope to see you in May.